So a lot of fallout as to be expected following Conor McGregor's appearance at the White House yesterday, where he got to speak his mind on what's going on in Ireland at this point, and pour scorn on the Irish government, and rightly so, for their abject failures when it comes to various social and economic and societal problems that are going on in Ireland at this time. And of course there was a media backlash against him and a political backlash against him when the mantra of the day seemed to be, he does not speak for Ireland. He has no political mandate to speak for Ireland. So let's look at some of the comments and some of the fallout that came off the back of this, both from the mainstream media, from Micheál Martin and from Simon Harris in particular. So I want to kick off with this little video breakdown where you can see, I believe this is Sky News talking about this, and they have a political correspondent who managed to run up behind McGregor and accost him for a few little questions, and he got the surprise of the day when he got his answers. So let's see what was said.
Ireland tonight, who've been insisting that Conor McGregor does not speak for Ireland. It's after the mixed martial arts fighter was welcomed into the White House earlier for a meeting with President Trump. And he spoke to reporters in the press briefing room there.
The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit. You know, Ireland is at the cusp of, potentially losing its Irishness.
The Taoiseach.
So McGregor saying, if you missed it yesterday, Ireland is on the cusp of losing its Irishness. 40 million Irish Americans may have nowhere to come and visit if something's not done about it. There's an illegal immigration racket currently ongoing in Ireland at this time, and these are things that need to be said. And I've seen a lot of people shooting flack McGregor's way, saying, the messenger, we need a better messenger than that. We don't have a better messenger than that. That's the bottom line. Who else has got access to the White House? Who else can approach the president? Who else can stand at the White House press secretary's podium and tell it like it is? So as the old saying goes, you don't shoot the messenger. It's the message in this case that's important. And people are saying, well, it could harm nationalism in Ireland if it's associated with Conor McGregor. Who else is it associated with? Who else is a prominent Irish nationalist figure that's doing anything even remotely close to what McGregor did yesterday to raise the profile of what's going on the ground? So here we have this reporter. He managed to run up behind McGregor yesterday and ask him a few questions, and they bounced back on him, I feel.
Micheál Martin, in a post online, said St. Patrick's Day represented the community, humanity, fellowship and friendship spirit of the people of Ireland, and that Conor McGregor didn't represent any of those things or speak for the people of Ireland. But he has now met with President Trump, and I caught up with him a few moments ago as he was leaving the West Wing.
So just before we hear what he says, again, we have Micheál Martin saying McGregor does not speak for the people of Ireland. He does not represent the people of Ireland. Well, does Micheál Martin? From what I can see, anytime he puts any posts up on social media or anytime he takes to the stage, he's just a snivelling wretch of a man, if the truth be told. And it's questionable as to the position that he's in at the minute also.
Conor, what did you say to the president? What did you say?
He's had a great meeting with him. He's a great man. I told him his work rate is outstanding, and I wish him all the best.
Conor, the Taoiseach says you don't speak for the people of Ireland. Your response to that?
I am an employer of over 200 people, almost 300 people in the country of Ireland. He's an employer of none. Every available metric available to us has shown that the government of Ireland currently has failed the people of Ireland. In 10 years, Dublin city centre has gone from one of the most safest cities in Europe to one of the most dangerous. So shame on him for saying that, speaking down on an Irish man. I won't speak about him personally. throw a jab. I could throw many jabs at them. I could throw jabs handily at them. However, I speak on the metrics, and the metrics show they've failed the people of Ireland. They do not represent the people of Ireland.
Conor,
and I'm
what
here.
do you say to people who feel it's inappropriate for you to be here, given...
God bless Ireland, God bless America.
So there you have it. He doesn't mess around and pull his punches. He says, I'm an employer of 200, almost 300 Irish people. Micheál Martin is an employer of no one. He says shame on him for speaking down on another Irishman. Talks about the streets of Dublin being unsafe. He says God bless America. He talks about Trump's work ethic, and very importantly also, he says, I'm talking about the metrics here, and the metrics don't lie. He said, I'm not being personal. If I wanted to be personal with Micheál Martin, Simon Harris and his ilk, I could throw jabs. In other words, what he's saying is, I have plenty up my sleeve if you want to get this into a drag down, dirty, personal fight. But at this point in time, he's simply going by the metrics. So, no messing around there at all. And of course, huge exposure with this yesterday. Huge exposure with this, especially among Irish Americans who may not be aware of what's going on at this point in time. There was another statement made when Simon Harris was pulled up about this one. He was asked to give his opinion on McGregor's words in the White House. And this is what Simon Harris on Taoiseach had to say.
Wherever he wants to his home, and he's perfectly entitled to do whatever he wishes in relation to who he decides to invite to the White House. But let me be very clear, Conor McGregor is not here in the United States representing Ireland or the people of Ireland. He's here in a personal capacity. He doesn't speak for Ireland, he doesn't speak for the people of Ireland. He has no mandate to do such, and my views on him are very clear, well established.
Actually, he does have a mandate. The bottom line is, Simon, look at Simon Harris. Look at the state of him. The bottom line is Simon Harris was not invited to the White House. Simon Harris was not given the White House press secretary's podium. Simon Harris was not granted an audience with Donald Trump and asked to bring his family along on St. Patrick's Day. Conor McGregor was. So like it or not, Harris, he has as much of a mandate to speak about and for the people of Ireland than you do. And notice, nothing's actually being said about what McGregor said, just the validity, whether or not he was entitled to say it or not. No one's addressed the comments. Harris hasn't come out and said, well, actually, we haven't failed the people of Ireland. He hasn't come out and said, well, actually, Dublin is not unsafe. None of the points that McGregor makes were addressed. They simply fall back into slurs and explaining why Harris, for example, does have a mandate and McGregor does not, despite the fact that no one gives a damn about what Harris has to say. He's a highly questionable individual. And if we look also at what Harris was doing yesterday and what Micheál was doing yesterday, Harris said it was an honour to walk in the New York St. Patrick's Day parade with my good friend, Governor so-and-so. So there he is standing in his raincoat in New York, while McGregor's kinging it up in the White House with the Donald. Yesterday, Micheál Martin, there he is. He's holding court with a couple of children behind a security barrier and the mayor, the Lord Mayor of Cork. So that was what Micheál was doing yesterday while McGregor was in the White House. And there's a great summary here. There was a commentator on Twitter or X, a guy called Tom Hutchins, has said, on Taoiseach, Martin gets to visit the White House, but days before the most important Paddy's Day, a fair punishment for his years of anti-Trump rhetoric. On Taoiseach, Harris gets interviewed on the street. On St. Paddy's Day, he's not even relevant. McGregor gets to step up to Trump's press office podium. Like him or hate him, McGregor's gotten the fact that this government is anti-Irish, a message that's now gone out to the better part of 40 million Irish Americans, a message that needs to be heard and one which neither Martin or Harris or Sinn Féin wanted to be heard. So last week, when Martin finally got his invite to the White House, very late this year and very premature, he appeared last week with St. Patrick's Day yesterday being Monday. He was brought in advance. He got to give the bowl of shamrock. He certainly squirmed, while Trump had little passive-aggressive swipes at Ireland, saying, well, actually, they're taking advantage of us. Martin didn't know what to do. And then he said that thing about the Irish housing crisis. He said Ireland it's a good problem to have. Ireland's doing so well. And you could see Martin getting excited and that little rat face of his and those little paws of his rubbing together. He thought, well, I'm in his good books. No, he's been humiliated. He's been humiliated by Trump, because on the day that Martin was there, Trump said, my favourite Irish person is Conor McGregor. And yesterday, as he was the one in the White House, he was the one holding court with the world's press, he was the one sitting in the Oval Office with Donald Trump and got to bring his family along. The press secretary said we couldn't hope to have a better Irish person in the White House today than Conor McGregor. So it's humiliating for Harris as he walked the streets of New York in his trench coat like Frank Spencer. If you watch the programme, some mothers do have him. He's the Frank Spencer of Irish politics, and Micheál Martin got to receive a little posy of flowers from two little kids in Cork behind a security barrier on a wet Cork afternoon on St. Patrick's Day while McGregor was in the White House Oval Office. So tell me what you think below. Was this a good thing yesterday? Some people are haters out there. They hate McGregor. He doesn't stand for Ireland. He doesn't speak for Ireland. He doesn't speak for me. I mean, we all should have our own opinions and we all should have our own voices. But certainly he speaks for many people, and he voices for many people what people have been pointing out for a long time, that the current Irish government is anti-Irish. And Ireland is on the cusp of losing its Irishness. Who can argue with that? Tell me what you think below. For now, I'm Rick Munn, No Risk, No Reward Media, over and out.